Hello, everyone. It's Nicole McIntosh here for Good News Jamaica. Welcome to another episode of our mobile reasoning. I'm really delighted, excited to be joined by a phenomenal lady, and her name is Miss Heather Nelson. So I want you to relax, sit back, and enjoy the next couple of minutes while we learn all about Heather and the wonderful work she's doing. Welcome, Heather. Welcome to Good News Jamaica.
Thank you for having me, Nicole.
We're delighted. The first thing I want to do, Good News Jamaica is all about focusing on showcasing positivity, celebrating excellence, inspiring the next generation to be great. And when I came across your profile on social media, I was bowled over because it's like you're a lady that I can learn a lot from. And I thought, why not get you to share with the world, Jamaicans in the diaspora? So I want you to tell me a little bit about who Heather Nelson is and the wonderful work that you do.
Oh, thank you. What an accolade. Thank you so much. Um, who's Heather Nelson? Heather Nelson is the granddaughter of Bishop Nelson, who came to the UK from Jamaica in 1960. And he was one of the first Black bishops here who helped with the spiritual uplifting of those that had come over on the invitation, after Windrush, etc. My mum is one of 12 siblings that granddad and grandma had. And my mum had two, which is myself and my sister. And I'm now myself a mother of a young man and somebody who has always had within her core the need to see equity and equality, and followed that in my career to where I am currently now, which is the CEO of a regional charity but works nationally. And it's all about looking at addressing the inequities that come across in education, health, and social care.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, to hear the history, you are standing on the shoulders of giants, your heritage and the inspirational story that you've just told about your grandfather coming over to England. Tell me, how has that inspired you? What has that done for you, knowing that you come from that family of great people? How has that inspired you to get to where you are now?
I think, not I think, I know my grandfather's tenacity. I've inherited that because I know it wasn't easy for him, like many when they came here. He was a very forthright man. And he always said to me, nobody and nothing is better than you are. And never to make any apology for who I am and where I come from. And if anything, those two affirmations has been my driving force. So even though I find myself sat amongst usually white middle-aged men in the boardrooms, strategically talking with them, and they usually know who I am because I'm usually the only Black woman sat there, I've never, and I believe that's because I can always hear Grandad in my ear saying, nobody's better than you are.
Wonderful.
And that has always been my drive. Most of us stand on shoulders of greatness, if we have Jamaican heritage.
That's
Because if we
true.
look back at the history from Nanny Maroon to, you know, um, Sam Sharp,
Yes.
Butterman, oh, there's so many. I'm getting all the names mixed up in my head, but when you know that you stand on their shoulders, you can't make apology for who you are, and you walk straight, upright, and you go forward that way.
Agreed. I mean, that resonates profoundly with me and my experiences as well. And um, when you say that you are the chief executive of a regional charity, Black Health Initiative, tell us what you do in the BHI and how you came to be the chief executive.
Well, I came to be the chief executive by fluke. I had my own consultancy,
Yes,
and this black charity was floundering, and they reached out to me to help.
yes,
But as you and many others will know, that change is hard for many people,
yes,
and it meant that some of the trustees, they left because they didn't like the ideas, and the staff were a bit reluctant. And I just thought, actually, this is a good platform to build on.
yes,
So I came on board and I said, right, we're going to rebrand, rename, and go forward, because it was set up by a local authority who had pigeonholed the black community. It was during the
yes,
80s,
yes.
and when it was conceived, and they called it Black Community AIDS Team. Now,
Oh,
we all know the narrative behind that, where they kind of put on our shoulders the AIDS epidemic.
I see. Yeah,
So when I arrived in the late 1990s, initially, I said, well, we're more than AIDS. That's not who we are.
great.
Let's flip that on its head and look at the inequalities and inequities.
Yes,
Um, and like I said, people left, I rebranded, and we looked at the terms and conditions. And we started to look initially at education and
yes,
how our young people were being disproportionately excluded from schools.
yes,
We got parents on board, we started talking about that, started saying, well, to change that, let's look at being governors. What does that mean? Let's mentor each other to be governors so that we're in the system and we can challenge. And then we started getting contacts regarding health inequalities, disproportionate incidents within diabetes, hypertension, cancers, the list goes on. And we said, okay, we'll start doing that. In 2014, we launched the only Black cancer program at the House of Commons.
wonderful.
And our driving force for that was because hair loss, prosthesis weren't the same colour as our skin colour. We had so many inequalities to challenge, as well as going through the cancer process. It was definitely unfair.
Yes,
So we challenged that, and we developed a all political party group to address that.
lovely.
And it's going forward to this day. And as we're getting older and our community's getting older, we then saw that social care wasn't adequate either. From you having adult social care saying to buy moisturizer is a luxury rather than a
Oh,
necessity.
I see.
I
Yes,
was like, well, we've got to address that. These are the basics. Hair care,
yes,
everybody else that was not from our community were getting the healthcare within the whole residential cares and home help, etc. And we weren't. So that's how we developed all the programs to challenge the inequalities that we're going through. But then I realized it wasn't just inequality, it was inequities as well.
yes.
And again, going back to Granddad, bless him, he said to me, equality is about giving everybody pairs of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Equality, equity is about giving them the right size for their feet.
Perfect. I really like that. Yes,
And that resonated so much. And I thought,
yes.
that's right. We don't want equality because we don't want bad shoes.
Equity. Definitely.
We want equity.
Yes,
So
yes.
my driving force.
Wonderful, wonderful. And when we are owning our own narrative and having to educate, for example, as you said about the moisturizer and that cultural awareness about what that means for our culture, that's basic. That's not a luxury. And having people who look like us advocating for us is really important. I agree. I agree. So you say
Thank
that
you.
you do other work with the BHI, the Black Health Initiative. So you do health and well-being, counseling, and supporting elders. Tell us a bit about that.
I think supporting the elders has always been my passion, probably because I just like to sit, listen, and learn from them.
Okay.
So any opportunity. And as we know, they can talk. So so they're always willing to, give advice and support and everything. But I always see it as whatever that we put in place now, we will inherit if we stay here in the UK. So let's lobby, let's negotiate, let's strategize on how we can ensure that everybody has equity of service. And part of that in our little corner up here in the north of England is making sure that we provide good healthy nutritional meals on wheels.
Lovely.
So, we started off with just a small cohort of maybe 20, and now we're providing, over 300 meals a week in 2 days. And a lot of them are coming from not just our communities, but the Irish, the Scottish, etc. And what I smile about is that they say, your food is so well seasoned.
Yes.
And I smile.
Definitely.
I smile because they'll say something like, the shepherd's pie. I've never tasted shepherd's pie like that. And I said, oh, that's because we season up the meats before and then we
Exactly,
brown
of
it and
course.
exactly. And they were like, yum. And to the point where they had stopped their other meals on wheels providers and just have ours. And so Adult Health and Social Care contacted us and said, have you got the capacity to do more? And I said, well, no, we're a small charity. You don't fund us. I have to do the bids. And they said, well, if we funded you, would you do it citywide? And that's what's happened. And that was since
Wonderful.
last year with the pandemic.
I was just going to say, how has the pandemic affected you? And
So
it is
now
really powerful to hear.
exactly. So now a lot of the indigenous population are now understanding what a green banana is. They love their planting. When we say dumplings, our dumplings are different to theirs, but they love our dumplings, even though some say it's a bit difficult with the dentures. But, we're kind of teaching and helping people to integrate during these times of separation, which I just smile and think that's a wonderful thing.
I think you're right. And, if there's anything that we've learned, it's about the importance of togetherness in these times and that cross-cultural
Yes.
piece and that intergenerational where we're learning from our wise elders is powerful. And we're really proud of that as Jamaicans, wherever we are. And to see people coming and loving our food, that warms our heart. You know what I mean? That's
Yes.
lovely. That's lovely.
Yes.
So in terms of
Absolutely.
in terms of how do you stay focused? It must be challenging, and I know that you are a dynamic and forthright lady, but how do you stay focused and positive? What grounds you?
Spirituality grounds me.
Yes.
I class myself as a woman of faith. And there are challenges. There's challenges amongst ourselves because unfortunately, I believe some of us are lost by trying to integrate. And and that's when I say integration isn't necessarily a good thing until you are grounded in who you are.
Agreed.
Um, and prayer. And I surround myself with like-minded people. I don't do negativity very well. I find it draining and it stops me from progressing. But every morning, I always pray that I am guided in the right way. And my mother always says, no matter what, no weapon formed against you will prosper. So even when I'm feeling very challenged because people, either those who are holding the purse strings, like with those who I negotiate with the NHS, or those within the police force, and I sit there, I have to remain solid because I have to know why I'm sat there.
Agreed. So it's your position and knowing your position, and at the same time being a bridge, but not losing yourself. So bringing your authentic self to whatever you're doing, but doing it in a very reverence and prayerful way. It's quite inspirational because I ask you that because I know other viewers will be thinking, boy, she sounds really dynamic, but how she keep it up? In Jamaicans, we always want to know what people's secrets are. And there's no secret really, but what you've just said to me is that you surround yourself with positivity, and that feeds your energy and your creativity. So that's really wonderful to hear. What would you tell your younger self? If you had a conversation with your younger self, what would you say?
I think I would definitely I would have told myself, don't listen to the teachers. My teachers wrote
Interesting,
me off.
right?
I always had something to say. I always challenged. And when I was younger, I didn't always challenge the right way. And you know, I remember my careers teachers telling me that I would stack shelves,
Oh,
and at the best, I'd be in a typing pool. And then
wow.
I remember my head of year, I was running down the corridor, which I shouldn't have been, but I was running down the corridor. And he said to me, he just shouted, Nelson, the only time I'm going to see you is when your face is on TV because you've been put in jail for something. And it was interesting because that resonated within me all the time. And it's funny because that head teacher ended up having to be my mentor when I signed up to be a magistrate.
Wow.
So I thanked him for his prediction. I said, you told me I was going to be in the judicial system. So thank you, sir. And he just kind of colored up. And I thought, you know, sometimes you have to change that negativity into positivity. And
Yes,
yes, you are seeing me in court,
yes.
but as a magistrate.
Thank you very much.
And exactly, thank you for your prediction, because, you know, words are powerful.
Yes,
And
yes.
people need to know that the tongue is very powerful. And he helped me.
Tell me about being a magistrate. What does that involve, and how long have you been doing it?
Right. Well, I've been doing it now. This is my 21st year. So I got
Wow.
my certificate for doing 20 years a few months ago, and from the Lord Justice. And I again did it because one of the older um, formidable young man, a magistrate called Travis Johnson, who's now passed, but he started the Jamaican Society in Leeds. And we used to go there for Saturday school. And he said to me, because you've always got something to say, Heather, why don't you put it into use? And I was like, well, I'm not going to be a magistrate. You know, that's the other side, Babylon, all that kind of stuff, because I
Yes,
was young and
yes,
hot headed. And
yes.
he went, sometimes you need to be in it to change it.
Thank you very much. That's so true.
It's been challenging because once again, it's it's not made. The justice system wasn't made for, I don't believe, a multicultural society.
Mm,
And the people who sit on judgment are not your peers necessarily.
yes,
So for me, sitting there, and if I unfortunately see a black defendant come through,
yes,
I'm going to make them feel not that they're right, but comfortable that they will have fairness.
yes.
Yeah, because a sister sat there. And I know it's happened. And if I can just quickly give you an example of
Oh, yes,
where
definitely.
that's happened, and I thought, my God, if I wasn't sat here, there was a young man that had come in, and young black man come in, and he had his hair braided. And one of my colleagues said, oh, well, if he can't pay his fine, we'll put him into Armley HMP, which is Leeds prison. And I said, well, how have you come to that judgment? And she said, that hairstyle, David Beckham has that hairstyle, and I'm sure I read he gets it done for £500 a time. So I said, tell David Beckham to come to my house and pay me the 500, because most black females can actually what we call rope or guinea, you know. So
Definitely.
he didn't, his sister, aunt, friend, anybody could have done that for him. But it was interesting that they were ready to actually incarcerate that young man, because they thought instead of paying his fine, he was paying it to get hairdos.
Imagine that. I mean, if you hadn't said that to me, I would not have even thought that someone would have made that assumption. But you see, when they're far removed from our reality, and that's why we need to be at the table, as you say, we need to be there to influence. And even though we might not agree with what's happening, we are able to challenge appropriately. So, wow, £500. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Tell me a bit about the music side now. You're involved in some music work. I need to come up and take a trip when the next time you have the festival. But tell me about that.
Oh, please do come up. I would love you to come up and enjoy. So we run a festival called, well, I renamed it, it's called Black Music Festival. And it's celebrating music of Black origin. And so it's R&B, gospel, reggae, everything. And even now, modern Black British music. So the grime that's happened that these young people like.
I know.
And when we inherited it, it had 5K people coming. And it happens every year on August Bank Holiday weekend. So in 2015, I think we took it over. We inherited 5K revelers. In 2019, we had over 80,000 people attend, and they
80,000.
travel up from all different places. Absolutely, the crowd was huge. But I think that had a lot to do with the fact that we had Itana. Itana
Lovely.
came and
The
she
strong one.
exactly. Itana, Grammy nominated performer from Jamaica, and she was fantastic. And I make no apologies for the fact that I applaud my Jamaican heritage by like bringing people on board a lot of the times.
Yeah.
So, we've had Third World, we've had Kabaka Pyramid, Luciano, and, we bring them because they represent who we are. And the crowd just loves them. Last year we had to do it online because of the pandemic.
Yes.
This year we're kind of looking at the government guidelines. But again, people say, what has music got to do with health? But as you will know, and those who are watching, it helps our soul. We have music when we're sad, during the funerals, it's uplifting, christenings, weddings. I just remember generations when you'd go to friends' homes and, the mother's singing away as she's doing the housework. It's just, music's in us.
It is,
So I was happy to be able to do that and to develop it.
It's wonderful. It would be really good for us to keep our viewers updated so that if it's still virtual, if we don't get a chance to have a face-to-face, then we can share the link so that they too can join virtually. It's wonderful. I mean, to reach out to our performers from all over the world, especially Jamaica, for them to be part of it. It really is about getting our culture, our wonderful Jamaican culture that people gravitate to, and to share it with the world. It must be a proud feeling to be in charge and organizing something like that. So I definitely will be in the front row dancing the next time if you have a face-to-face one. So I look forward to that.
I do where I can. People often say to me, Heather, no matter what you do, you're always inserting Jamaica in there somewhere.
Yes.
And I do. And I think it's because, our food is lovely, our music's lovely. I'm just proud that I have that heritage. So, yeah.
Wear it as a badge of honor. It is a cool kind of imagery that the Jamaicanness, and I think sometimes it's when you're out of Jamaica that you appreciate it even more. Because I too get that where people ask what my accent is, and they'll guess different islands, and then I'll say Jamaica, and they say, oh, well, go on, man, or Jamaica, or Bob Marley, or Usain Bolt. But people know about Jamaica wherever you go. And for us to kind of share our food, our culture, our unique way of just being cool is really wonderful to see. Really, really good. So I want you to share with me your social media links and so that we can insert it in the video as well. So what is it on Twitter?
Thank you. On Twitter, it's at Dawn Rising.
Yes.
_UK.
Thank you.
On Instagram, it's at Dawn Rising _18.
Yes.
I don't have Facebook.
That's
I'm
all right.
resistant to Facebook, but I do have LinkedIn, and that's under my name, which is Heather Nelson.
That's all right. And in terms of the Black Health Initiative, if anyone wants to follow up on that, is there a website that they could check out?
Yes, Black Health Initiative. It's the three W's, blackhealthinitiative.org.
Thank you very
And
much.
if they wanted to follow Black Music Festival, it is blackmusicfestival.org.
Lovely. Thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and to hear about the
Thank
wonderful
you.
work you're doing. I mean, I know you're doing a lot more, but just what you've told us,
Thank you for having me.
it's inspirational, and you need to really keep us up to date as to what you're doing. You know, let us share links to the festivals. If you have any other initiatives that you want Good News Jamaica to know about, because as I say, we're really celebrating positivity and strong Jamaicans wherever they are in the world. So thank you very much for joining us on our latest episode of Mobile Reasoning. Thank you everyone for watching. Until next time, take care.
Thank you for checking us out on Good News Jamaica TV for content that informs, inspires, and transforms. Please like, share, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more positive Jamaica content. Walk good.